Hello, welcome in to Empower Our Live. Today is Friday, and we are so excited to be here today. We have the amazing Dr. Gao on. She's a professor of communication and Asian studies at Kennesaw State University. So thank you, Dr. Gao, on. I think that she's got to get her camera on, but she's here. So she'll be. Hi, there you are. There she is. Say hello to Dr. Gao. Hello, how are you?
Hi, everyone, and I'm so happy to be here on this beautiful Friday.
Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We're so, again, like we said, we're just going to let the numbers, let other people come in, let them get in and get accustomed before the empowerment begins. We're in a different location than we normally are. There's Eric. How are you?
Good to see you, Eric.
Good to see you too.
Thank you.
All right, so can you tell me how many people are in? Look, I'm flying. Okay, awesome. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. So today, everybody, we have Dr. Gao. I don't know what's being said to me, but so I'm going to turn it over. Nairee's going to introduce. I'm introducing Nairee, who is our HR director, and you and her are going to talk about this business thing. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Gao. How are you doing?
Good. Hi, Nairee.
It's good to meet you.
Yes, it's great. It's great to be in the same room, right? Virtually.
Yep. Absolutely. So, I think we should just get started with maybe a little background on who you are, and like we can tell EPM family and any person outside of EPM that's watching us kind of what you do, what your specialties are, and take it away.
Okay, I'm a professor of communication and Asian studies. I've been at Kennesaw State University since 2004. And after I got my PhD in organizational communication at University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. I used to be a TV anchorwoman in China. And then I came to the US for my graduate education at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, and in USF, Tampa, Florida. So it's my passion to help people to communicate and understand each other when we are all coming from different cultural backgrounds, different families, different life experience. How can we understand each other from the other's perspective? With how do we practice empathetic listening, and how do we build relationship to win business? In fact, that is my book, and I actually interviewed 20 global business leaders, including your president and founder, Eddie Perez.
Yes.
So his name and your company's name are featured in my book. It's called Win Business with Relationships, and 6-step communication strategy inspired by entrepreneurs, Taoism, and gardening.
Awesome. That's awesome. So maybe what is one of the highlights you took away from your interview with Eddie? Like, what do you think is something that he added to your book that you really think helps?
Yes. So there are many things that he added to the book that helps. And I think you guys may have heard him talking about it, but I would like to share with you that I learned so much from him. And he talked about, if you want to build relationship with others, be interested, not interesting. Meaning you need to be interested in what other people have to say. Not try to always show off and to become interesting yourself.
Correct. All right.
And
so
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, another point he talked about is respect. So he said we need to respect the other, and no matter who they are, no matter what status they are, no matter what kind of job positions they are, we need to respect them. Respect is the ultimate sign of love, and we all want to be loved.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you have the degree in organizational communications. I have a degree in organizational behavior. How do you think the two things correlate?
What's your degree?
Organizational behavior.
Oh, yes, excellent. So organizational behavior is usually taught in management department, and they usually focus more on management and organizational structure, organizational, how you send out a message. I think organizational behavior, the major difference between organizational behavior and organizational communication is organizational behavior pay attention to one-way communication. It's all how we can manage the situation, how we can lead, and how we can design a structure that can work like a well-oiled machine. But in organizational communication, more and more we look at two-way communication. We look at the basic human communication, how we can, we communicate with words, but the essence is meaning of the words. How can we use word and how can we use nonverbal messages to communicate and to transfer the meaning that what we want?
Gotcha. So I kind of feel like they're kind of interconnected because even though you have a structure, your structure will fall if you don't have proper communication.
Absolutely, yes. So Nareen, I think you hit the nail on the head. So I have my major professor, his name is Eric Eisenberg, and he wrote a book on organizational communication. And I remember what he talked about, in the first few pages, he talked about, it looks like, we have a wonderful organization like your company. I love the green color and the blue color, and you guys are in the Queen Building. I've been there, and so it's a prominent location. But organization, looks like it has building, furnitures, computers, cell phones. We used to have phone lines, but now we all communicate with cell phones. But organizations, when there's a building, but 70% of what we do is communication.
Yes.
And look at what the impact of pandemic on us. Even though now we are working at home, we're still communicating. So we're taking that 70% outside of the building itself, but we are still organizing and we're still communicating within the virtual framework of organization.
Yeah, I agree with that. So touching upon that a little more, how do you think communication has done during the pandemic? Do you feel like we increased our communication skills, or maybe they've gone down due to like lack of being able to actually have interface relationships with people and having more of a technology-based area where we're relating on?
Nari, I like how you threw all the questions at me. Thank you so much. You're a very good interviewer. Thank you for the challenge. So anyway, I would say both. On the one hand, there is a digital transformation. We are forced to learn to speak and operate Zoom, for example, and Microsoft Teams. And we need to learn, we are, in a way, we're all getting better at video conference, and we are, and in a way, because of the advancement of technology, we're working 24/7. So in the past, we say, oh, Eric, I'm having vacation next week. Don't bother me, right? I'm going to be on the beach. But now he's bothering you because you're on your cell phone. We're having a Zoom meeting. Come on, you're on the beach. You can still be on the Zoom meeting. So in a way, I've talked with my colleagues and we're saying that we're actually working more. We're actually, in a way, getting more done because we're saving the time on driving and parking and all the hustles and bustles of the city. But on the other hand, yes, we're not seeing each other face to face, and we're missing the dialogic moments.
Yes, and the other thing is, do you feel like because of the communication and what's happening, like you said, you're calling me every moment. I'm on the beach. I'm wherever. My kids are running around the back. I'm doing laundry. Am I really getting effective work? Are you really getting effective communication out of me, or am I just participating because it's right there? Have you found that in any of your studies, or,
Yes, excellent. So we are having multiple identities now, and we sometimes we're as a human being, we're fragmented into multiple channels. because we got the TV on, maybe you're watching TV and then you're doing your dishes, and then you got a Zoom meeting on a laptop and a Microsoft Teams meeting on your cell phone. So you got multiple things going on, and you're not giving your full attention to any of the above. And so I'm not in support of when you are in a meeting, you're not giving your 100%, because when we're not fully attending, we're not giving our full attention, you're not really getting 100% of the information out of it. So this is what I'm telling my graduate students. I said, arrange one thing at a time, so if you're going to relax, just 100% relax, turn off everything, right? But when you are in a meeting, you need to give your 100% yourself, your full presence. You need to have your full presence in person or online.
Yes, I agree. So let's talk about email. Do you think emailing is still a good tool, or do you think that we're better moving towards text messages or Teams Messenger and that type of thing? Or can we use email for longer terms of communication, but short terms, should we text, should we Teams? What do you think is the best way to get a message across?
Yes. So email is one of those tools. It's like, you have a toolbox of all kinds of tools. Email is one of those tools. And email has its advantage because it's a written record. So and you can copy it to many people, although that could be dangerous too, right? So we need to think thoroughly to who to copy the message to. Because it can cause people to lose face, and it can really disrupt and even damage relationship. But yeah, email has its advantage in terms of it's a written record, and it can keep the email chain, so you can see all the history of the communication of this one issue. But email is not instant. It's kind of a one-way communication. You send it out, you have to wait until the other person to respond, right? But versus Microsoft Teams or text message or apps like WhatsApp, you can get almost instant feedback. So that has its advantage in terms of, if you want something just very simple, for example, you want to ask, is today's meeting 1 o'clock or 1:30? Then you can text message. You don't need to email, because that's gonna take a long time, and people have to sit down and really find the email, open it, respond it, and take a long time, right? Just a text message, solve the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So along the lines of something you touched on, like being careful with who you're sending the emails to, what do you feel about blind copy? So do you feel like if you're going to copy people, should you copy them just in the forefront, but not hide behind blind copy? Like, what do you think about that?
Very excellent question. Again, so blind copy, yes, BCC. We all have used blind copy, and I have personally used blind copy, and blind copy has its advantage. Usually it's very good in blind copy your supervisor, so that your supervisor is in the loop, so to speak, about what's going on. And also you give yourself protection, because your supervisor knows that you've been there and you've done that, you've executed this plan, right? Now, what's the next step? We will have to see what's going on with the other company. But your supervisor is blind copy and he's in the loop, and you got yourself protected. It's actually saving you time. Instead of you go there, report to him what's going on, or you can, in another way is you can forward the message to him or her. I don't want people to think only mega supervisor. Thank you.
So we're focusing a lot here at EPM on our communication with the EPM team. So we're really delving into what areas or what tools, I should say, we can use to better communicate with the staff. So what would be some suggestions you have to create a corporate culture of communication that makes sure that everyone's in the know and that everyone is receptive to receiving the information and actually, reading everything that we send out and taking it in?
Yes, excellent, Irene. So my book has 12 chapters, and one of the chapters talk about communication channels. So let's think of this way. In your company, there are people of all ages, right? So, and so we call them different generations. So there are, the silent generation, who are, many of them are politicians. They're not very silent, but they're called silent generation. And then we got the baby boomers, and we got Generation X and Generation Y, which has another name, is called millennials, and then Generation Z, and then Generation Alpha. So we go to A, B, C, D, E again.
Yep.
So we, the reason why we use generation is because people's age grow, but our birth date never change, right? I hope it changed, but it doesn't. So we're all getting older. So because we're born, because we grew up in different generations, that means we grew up with different communication technologies. Yes. So when I talk with my undergraduate students, I don't need to even mention it. They are born to know smartphone technologies. They know all the apps, right? I don't need to teach them. They teach me. They recently teach me how to, the group me is a very good one. And then generation, that's Generation Z, and also Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha are still in K through 12. Okay. So Generation Z are entering the workforce. They are in their early 20s, and they are super capable with all kinds of apps. Okay, and they like to communicate with apps. We need to remember that. And then we have the a little bit older who are in their early 30s or late 20s, and this generation, the millennials, they still remember the land phone. I talk with my graduate students. I say, you just showcase your age, because they were talking about Nokia phone. Those huge big phones used to be a showcase of your status, social status. And they adjusted to use a smartphone. And then the Generation X, Generation X are, many of them are in mid-level managers, and even president and CEOs, and baby boomers, they are in the leadership position, and some of them are retiring. So different generation has different habit of communicating. For example, I have a graduate student who works in a museum. She had an internship for a short period of time in a museum, and she found out that a lot of the people who visit museum are Generation Z. They are this young people in their 20s, and they want to learn about what's going on in the. This is the African American Museum, and they want to learn about what's going on in African American history. These are Generation Z, so they like TikTok. They like to look at things at TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. But the museum are mostly operated by people who are in, Generation X or baby boomers, right? The older generation. They like to, they like to publish flyers, print documents. So our students say, well, you need to put everything on TikTok. You need to put things on Instagram. And so the manager of the museum, the curator of the museum, saying that's so unofficial. The TikTok, that's so unofficial. But our students say, based on our research, Generation Z, your major customers, the major audience, that's the communication app they like. So I would say there's no such thing as one size fit all. We need to send out messages in multiple channels to target customers and audience in different generations.
Okay, got it. So talking a little bit about apps and talking a little bit about text messages and that type of thing. When you're, do you feel like communication gets lazy via those portals? Like you're using a lot of acronyms, a lot of short phrases that maybe what you're trying to communicate doesn't come across because you're trying to communicate it so quickly.
Yes, 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 yes. So in each of industry, we have lots of acronyms. And in academia, we're notorious for all kinds of acronyms. And in fact, we're talking about someone need to have a PhD of acronyms.
Yes.
Yeah, so acronyms is a specific for a specific group of people. For example, EPM, you guys have the name as an acronym. And if I tell other people, they don't know what it is, And so I think within your team, you have these common words, right? So then if you create Microsoft Teams or Slack, I don't know, you guys use Slack, or you can also consider use GroupMe. my students, they all use GroupMe. So if you have, I think the acronym is basically part of organizational culture, So once a week or once a month, you can have EPM Organizational Culture Day. And then you can teach all the newcomers, you can teach your new clients, all these new and fun acronyms and things you guys do, and the meaning of green and blue for your organizational culture. So I think, organizational culture is really the soul of an organization. And by that, I mean, if you look at, I hate to say it, but COVID is really killing a lot of people around the world. And so when people pass away, it looks like it still have a body, right? But the person is dead. So in the Chinese traditional medicine metaphor, that the qi is gone. The qi is the spirit, the soul. The soul of a person is gone, therefore the person is passed away. So similarly for organization, an organization need to have life, need to have spirit, need to have energy, and that's flowing in the body of organization like a qi, like a spirit, like a soul. So, and that is what that is organizational culture. Is how you how the philosophy of your company, and how the founder and the president envision, and how your leadership team shape, and how you guys execute in behaviors, organizational behavior. So that's all part of the organizational culture. And I think the best thing a leadership can do is to help to shape and explain and expand the organizational culture. The rest of it, we're all very smart human beings. We can do the specific, but if we are being told, the direction of to do and how we carry ourselves and how to represent EPM, that'll be great.
So let's touch on that a little bit more, if you don't mind. We recently had a death here at Equity Prime or EPM. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you say it one more time?
We recently had a death here, and there was really some confusion about the best way to communicate that and what people needed to know. Do you feel like that's something as a company we should announce to everyone, or maybe just those that closely work with them?
Okay. Yes. So this is one of the team member passed away. Yes. So I believe being honest and transparent is the best policy. So you need to announce it to the entire company, in my opinion. And that way, nobody is surprised, and nobody is thinking that you're hiding something that it's not your fault, right? It's we all have done our best, and so to tell the good news and bad news, transparently, honestly, is the best way to respect the employees and respect the other.
All right. So sometimes we get into situations where we have to save face. Can you explain what saving face really means?
Yeah, it's interesting. So in communication, we have a theory. It's called face negotiation theory by Stella kin to me. She's a Chinese American scholar in California. So she borrowed the concept from Chinese culture, such as save face, give face. And so face, we all have a face, right? We all have a face. And then imagine that we lose the face, it'd be very difficult to walk around because you don't have the face. So face, although it kind of sounds like a Chinese concept or Asian concept, but it applies to all cultures. So at the end of the day, we're all proud human beings, right? Each of us has a reputation, and we want to protect and revise this reputation. So each of us have, even including the newcomers, the interns in your company, we are all at the basic level, we are all human beings, and we all have the very proud humanness. So I think we need to protect each other's face, which is reputation. And people are very sensitive these days. Sensitive in terms of how you use the word, how you present certain things, and how you criticize, So I would say maybe it's better to avoid public criticism. Instead, to make it strategic assistance almost, you can say, in my opinion, perhaps there's another way of doing this. And when there is a dispute, maybe we can have a private meeting instead of have a public meeting and making the one person lose face, and in turn, all of us look bad, because when we lose face, it damages the relationship.
Yeah. So speaking of that, like damaging the relationship, if you lose trust with a colleague, what are some recommendations that you have for gaining that trust back?
Okay, yes. So that's funny. I feel like you've already read my book. So one of the chapters in my book, chapter 4, is about trust. And I have a metaphor for trust. So I have I've learned from my mistake as a gardener, because I try to grow flowers and vegetables for many years. I was not successful. And then I learned there are some major elements for growing vegetables and plants. So and during pandemic, a lot of us are staying at home, so we're trying to grow things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned that, for example, for an apple tree, right? Here in the peachy state, let's say peach tree. Peach tree, it's so important that the root more deeper and wider, the better. Because the trees use the root to eat and drink. Similar to us, we use our mouths to eat and drink. The trees use the root to eat and drink. And not only that, it uses root to support itself. So if you look at a huge tree out there, you only see the tree trunk and the tree leaves. But what you don't see is the root. The root is underground. It's invisible for your eye, but it exists.
Yes.
And that is my analogy for trust. Trust is the absolute support for the relationship. Is how the relationship getting the nutrition. Is how the relationship is supported. Once the trust is damaged, you have. I'm sorry to say, you really have done some serious harm to the relationship. So I say
there's no way to get it back.
Yes, there is a way to get it back. It takes a long time. It takes effort, right? So first of all, I would say you can go to the colleague and have an honest conversation. And in communication, we call it dialogue. Have a one-to-one conversation. Maybe you can have coffee, maybe you have Zoom meetings, and explain the misunderstanding. You can say, it's a misunderstanding. When I use that word or when I send that email, that's not what I mean. And I often use that, but my husband said that it's too much excuse because I say English is my second language. So I use that to avoid any miscommunication.
Right.
But yes, so you need to explain and you need to try to gain the trust back. When you feel like you've damaged the trust, you need to turn around and repair the trust.
All right. So let's talk about gossip in the workplace. How do you feel like gossip contributes to destroying the culture of the workplace?
I like
or
how you said
effective
that.
communication.
I like how you sit back and start to talk about gossip. As if you're observing the gossip. Yeah, so as a communication as a communication scholar, I don't I mean, let's define what's gossip. How gossip how do you there are all kinds of things and people have different understanding of what's gossip. So what do you mean by gossip?
Okay, so gossip is something happens, a situation happens here at EPM, right? Then little bits of information about the situation trickle out, but there's never been a real confirmation of what actually happened. So now there's a whole bunch of stories, almost like telephone tag, where someone knows one part of the story, now they told someone else the story changed, and then the next person tells another person, and a little bit more of the story changes. So, while it gets to the 10th person, it's nothing like the original situation.
Yes. So I would recommend the following. Number one, we can only control ourselves, right? We cannot control others. So for ourselves, let's not participate in this type of gossip.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. So when we control ourselves. And the other is that if you are in a leadership position, if you're a member in the leadership position, such as yourself in the HR, that's a very important leadership position. You need to talk with your other members in the leaders and say, there's this rumor going on. Should we send out an announcement?
Mm-hmm.
So if you counter through the official channel, then the rumor will just disappear. The rumor happens because people are curious about something going on. For example, you said someone passed away. So there may be a lot of rumors, Mm-hmm. So if you send out an official announcement, then the rumor just disappear.
Yeah, that's true. But what if you can't send out an announcement? Like, what if it's something that is private information?
Yes. So then you can, if you can identify who's trying to spread the rumors, maybe have a conversation with that person, saying, what you're doing is really damaging the company, or maybe what the information you said is inaccurate, is actually illegal, what you're doing. So you can have a conversation with that person.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about communication styles. So are there certain words or key phrases that you think are okay for every person? Or do you think, like, if I have this certain relationship with Eric or Blaine, I can say these words to them, but I can't say these words to Adair necessarily? Like, how do you make sure that you're checking yourself and using like universal communication and not getting maybe too comfortable in your communication style?
Yes. And so code switch, right? So you feel like, oh, these people are my friend. So I can say something easily and versus the other. But first of all, we need to remember our job positions. So for example, I have 17 graduate students. I try to treat them equally. I don't pick favorite. And some students may be more hardworking than the others, but the others who are not hardworking also have great potential. They may have different talents. So I think we need to just be aware that we need to treat people equally.
Right. So we still treat everyone equally, but the communication style, like things I would say, even though we're talking about the same type of things, like the way I would say to Blaine is not necessarily the way I would say it to Eric. do you think that's a situation where you just have to read the room or read the person, or, you know, like, how do you think that's?
Yeah. Well, without specific cases, I can only guess what you're trying to say. So maybe, you know, depend on the age, right? Again, you know, these employees may be from different generations,
Yeah.
and they're used to different style. And for example, you know, the older generation people, they might like more, you know, they might like to dress more officially to work,
Mhm.
versus the younger generation, they like to be more casual, you know. So you know, they in turn they also communicate differently. But I think at your company there's some common ways to communicate, right? And you have email, you have group emails, you have bulletin board, and your monthly lunch and learn is great, and that's also help to build organizational culture. So I think that's something that everyone participate.
Absolutely.
But I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, it was great. So what would be your number one tip for effective communication?
Said what?
Your number one tip for effective communication.
Oh, excellent. Yes. So I think we need to communicate with both verbal and nonverbal communication. So and so I think in business, and we win business with relationship. So you basically, you need to build relationship, and you build relationship with both verbal message and nonverbal messages. So I think smiling is a winning strategy. And when we approach others, it's better to be humble than to be proud, because being humble allow you to listen, allow you to observe and find out what they need and what they want. And then we can provide a product and service and solution that will benefit the other, and that's exactly what they want. I think listening is so important. Listening with listening, try to listen to understand, listen from their perspective. And because we are serving a diverse group of clients, and they all have different need, especially with the impact of COVID. So you know, when we try to provide mortgage, we really need to listen to understand, instead of try to sell what we have. Try to sell what we have, it may not be what they want.
Mhm.
So listen and observe and find out what they want.
All right. So when is a situation you think that trust can be breached for the best interest of the company? So is there ever a situation where you can breach someone's trust, do you think?
We can, you know, you mean build the trust?
Breach, like, so if there's a
yeah.
breach.
Yeah.
Is there ever
well,
an acceptable time to breach trust?
reach trust.
Breach.
Oh, breach meaning hurt the
Break
trust.
it. Yes.
Yeah, break it. So once the trust is broken, it's really hard to repair, depending on how hard it's broken. Yes, so I would say if the trust is seriously broken, then the relationship is almost dead. It takes a long time to rebuild. And another example is that, you know, when we grow the apple tree, right? If the tree root is dead, maybe you can cut a small branch and do a cutting and let it grow. It takes 3 years to grow, for that you know, for that little branch to grow into a smaller tree, because it takes a long time for the root to grow from that branch. So yes, we need to protect trust like protect our eyes, and don't let it go to the way that it's broken. Then it's really hard to repair.
So you're saying there's probably no acceptable time to ever break trust?
I say, if you want to keep the relationship, don't try to break the trust. It's not a good idea. Trust is the root of the relationship. So if the tree has no root, the tree is dead.
Absolutely. So let's see. So I think we're coming towards the end of this Empower Hour Live, and you've given us a whole bunch of great information. What would be some key takeaways that you would give us that are things that you really hope that we'll take from this and use in our everyday life, even in our personal life as well as our professional life?
Okay, so I would like to advocate win, win, win. So everyone likes to win. Nobody likes to lose. So in the old days, when people do business, say, "Oh, how about win lose? I win money and you lose, right? I'll use you as a stepping stone." And it's not working because people are smart. When they find out you try to let them lose, they will leave you, right? So the best way is win, win, win. How we can win together, and I win and you win and all the audience win, everyone wins. So you when you go out and look for business, when you take a humble perspective for your other and respect the other, try to listen and observe and find out what they need and what they want, and then you come back and refine your service, refine your product, and provide something that really make them happy. When your clients are happy, they will reward you with money, right? So your number one key is to make your client happy. Don't ever think about yourself. Think about how you can make them happy, how you can help them to solve the problem, how you can be a client, how can you can be a consultant for your client. And to do that, you have to become friend with your client. So the first step is to build trust-based relationship that will be transformed into friendship. And once you and your clients are friends, and then they'll say, okay, EPM, please give me this, give me that. And they will become repeat customers forever. And they will also refer your business to their friends and family and members in the community.
Awesome, that's awesome. So one more time, can we get the name of your book? Because everyone's chomping at the bit to get it.
Win Business with Relationships. 6-step communication strategy inspired by entrepreneurs, Taoism, and gardening, to be published by Business Expert Press, based in New York.
Nice, nice. Well, I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me and to speak with EPM. And is there anything I can do for you before we get off this call?
Well, I want to thank you for the time, and I wish everyone a relaxing weekend.
Yes, same for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get off. All right. Thank you. Thanks to everyone's attention.
Bye-bye.